Hi, and welcome to the Office Hours Podcast, Episode 2. This is the podcast where we talk about management and all the things that the textbooks leave out. This week, I get to interview a very special guest named Raul Lucero. He is the store director for Walmart. So if you've ever wondered how a Walmart functions and runs, you are going to love this episode. We get to talk about all sorts of really cool things, from what he does on a daily basis to how he manages a team of over 350 individuals, how he cares about each employee, but how he also drives them to make sure that the store hits its metrics. There are so many great things that we get to jump into, so I really hope you enjoy this episode.
Yeah, so this June will be 29 years with Walmart. To put it in perspective, I'm 44, so more than half of my life has been dedicated to Walmart. I started when I was 16, very slight time as a cart pusher, and I really wanted to get inside the store. I started out in El Paso, Texas, in the summer in June, 100 degrees outside, pushing carts.
Yeah.
Wanted to get inside, and an assistant manager told me, he says, "You know what? If I never have to tell you about carts or trash in the parking lot for 3 months, I'll get you a job inside." And for 3 months, when I would see his Silverado parked in the parking lot, I made sure he never had to tell me about any straggling cart or plastic anywhere. So I would just kind of run around the whole parking lot. And on that 3-month mark, I said, "Hey, man, help me out." So he took me inside the shoes. In shoes, you learn a lot from the customer perspective and how to maintain a department. I did that through high school. I was 16. And then they actually made me a department manager when I was a senior in high school. And I was able to manage it after school. Shortly thereafter, I became a support manager and department managers in other areas of the store. They approached me about wanting to become an assistant manager. And at the time, I was 6 years into my Walmart career, and a $32,000 salary just sounded amazing.
Oh, yeah, I remember those
Right.
days.
Yeah. So, I jumped on it, and they put me in the store, and they put me on the food side. And at that point, super centers were brand new at the time. It was just a regular Walmart. If you remember the hometown Walmart stores,
I can remember
I
those.
was in a super center, and just the whole deli and bakery and produce and all that was too new. But I was managing it. I had a really good leader. His name was Randy. He just celebrated his 40th year at the meeting we were just at, actually.
Yeah, you're catching up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost there. But when I was in there, I was a little tired of the monotonous time in the store. It just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. And so I inquired about store planning, which they do. They travel the country, opening stores and all that stuff. So I applied, and I asked some questions, and I got an interview. And then after my first interview, they called me and they said, "If you're ready to go, we'll meet you in South Dakota." Right. So they got me a plane ticket, and off I went to South Dakota, and I met a team there. My position was a field project supervisor. And I was not a handy guy. I'm not a handy guy now, but that's where I learned to really just run a drill, measure things, do a level. I was anchoring encounters. I was building feeding rooms. I was doing all that stuff. Just kind of learn what they do.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, I was able to run my team as a field project manager. I moved out to Pennsylvania, and I was just opening stores everywhere, from New Jersey to Washington State, California, Florida, everything in between. We were opening brand new stores. At that time, Walmart was opening around 300 a year. Substantial growth. I was all over the place. And then, got married and had a baby on the way. So I had to kind of settle down, and got into a store as a co-manager in Pittsburgh. And then after there, I just kind of moved around from Pittsburgh to Seattle to Maryland in that co-manager role. That's like a store manager in training. Learned a lot of good things, saw a lot of bad habits that I didn't want to carry with me. So I learned a lot from a lot of great people. And then I was offered a leadership academy role with Walmart at the home office, training for 3 months. After doing that, they told me I got to apply for stores. They asked me where I wanted to live. So I kind of picked Texas or Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Got 2 interviews, Houston and Dallas. Got offered both, and I took the one here in Dallas, and been here ever since for about the last 10 years.
So you're, across your entire career here, it sounds like you've been in a lot of positions where you're having to make decisions without all the information, right? So, and especially that's really interesting. I want to hear how you did that even as a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year old, where you're managing the shoe department and having to make decisions. And maybe if it's after school or even late hours or something, maybe your manager's not around for you to ask. And those seem, for us now, right, looking back, those probably seem like incredibly inconsequential. But maybe as a 18 or 17-year-old, you're like, oh my gosh, if I make the wrong decision, they're going to fire me.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Uncertainty is probably the norm, not the exception. And how do you, when you think about leadership, how common is it to actually have all the information that you would like to have before making a decision?
Well, I'll start off by saying, when you work for a company as big as I do, they really do a good job of giving you the information, the tools that you need on a daily basis, right? Every metric is really available on your phone, usually up to the hour stats, so you can see exactly how you and your team are doing, right? But none of that really comes into play when a situation like COVID hits, right? I remember that they had just moved me to a different store. It was a struggling store. They asked me to kind of go and kind of resurrect the store. And Walmart, the meeting I just got back from in Houston, Walmart was hosting it in Dallas. So what we do, we have to get about 25 stores ready at optimum performance and optimum presentation for all the leadership that visits for this meeting, right? So you're thinking CEOs and the whole executive row will come to these stores, and mine was one of them. So we were getting it ready. And I remember it was 2 days before the meeting started, and COVID was just at every news break, right? And so Walmart just sends a memo saying Dallas meeting is canceled. And we're like, well, why is it canceled? They're like, we can't have all those people flying, can't have all those people in enclosed phase. We don't know what this situation is. And then bam, a week later, everything shuts down. We're considered essential. I'm trying to run a $125 million store with 80% of the workforce too scared to come outside, right? But customers are not scared to come out. Customers eat toilet paper, water, food, you name it. And that whole craze was just, wiping the counters out.
I remember.
Yep. And then the people that would supply at the warehouse to load the trucks to bring them weren't going to work either. So how do we supply the community with everything they need? So that was uncertain. It's, I have to be empathetic towards my associates that are too afraid to come to work. I have to be, answering to my family, asking me why I am going to work. But then I have thousands of customers that are in need, and they're depending on us to be there for them. So there was no playbook. There was no direction really from Walmart. Walmart was just kind of playing it safe, right?
Still trying to
Sanitizing.
figure it out.
Yeah. We're sanitizing carts every 5 minutes. We're using, we're getting masks, and then there was a mask shortage, and you're just trying to see how many masks we have in store that we can
Yeah.
keep for ourselves, right? Then we have to do temperature checks at the doors for employees to come in, make sure they're not sick. So all those things come into play, and the first thing that I thought of when that happens, it's if it was me as an associate or if it was me as a customer, what do I need and what do I expect, right? And you have to put yourself as a leader, you have to put yourself last. So really empathy, leading with empathy, knowing that the people you depend on are the ones you're going to depend on in the future. Those are the ones you got to take care of first. And speaking to my peers, right? I would talk to other store managers. I would talk to my boss, and we would just kind of talk and say, this is kind of how I'm leading through it. This is kind of my thoughts on it. And everybody would just talk, and
Yeah,
we
I
would come
like
to a
having peers.
determination.
Yeah. So were
Yeah,
those regular meetings? Were they kind of ad hoc? Did they just everybody just kind of said, we don't know what we're doing either?
Yeah, there were like Zoom calls that my boss would have, and it's every market manager has about 10 to 12 stores. So he would get us all together 9 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what are you seeing? What are you doing? How many customers are in your store? How many people are showing up to work? And then what do you have going on, and how do you want to attack it, right? So as everybody says their piece, someone might mention something that I didn't think of, or vice versa. And that's kind of how you would run it. As something, we couldn't sell more than one pack of water to a customer to make sure
Yeah.
everybody gets some toilet paper. So as it came in off the truck, my employees needed it. So how do you make the decision? It's to give it to my employees, to give it to my customers, right? So you kind of play that by ear, and just leading through those uncertain times is very, very, very difficult, very trying. But thankfully, in the end, it worked out for me. It worked out for the associates. The amount of trust that we developed from the associates that Walmart took care of. Like, you take as much time as you need, but even the ones that came to work, the way Walmart took care of them through pay or through all these other things, it really developed a great trust and really helped their engagement with them going forward. And then as a leader, I was walking the talk. I wasn't just saying things. They saw me there. They saw me working. I was the one opening the store. I was the one closing the store. So it was very, very beneficial for the engagement and the trust within the associates and for the customers. Not very many stores were staying open, restaurants were not staying open, but the one constant was that Walmart was open as
Right.
often as possible for them.
Okay, so um, that's fascinating, right? That you're having to make these decisions in real time because nobody knows when this is going to be over, and it feels like we were always on the precipice of it being over, but then it would just get extended, and then it ended up getting worse for a while.
Right.
So when when you think about that's a crazy unique example, right? What about now when you think about market changes or customer behaviors? When you think about competition, even tariffs and regulation, and even technology, having to roll out technology and things inside the store. What are some of the biggest sources of uncertainty that you and your team face today?
So yeah, you hit it right at the on the money there. So one of them is just the current social environment. A lot of my customers, a lot of my delivery drivers, and a lot of my associates are Hispanic. So when they're in, some of them are just kind of worried about the whole ICE movement that's going on now. A lot of my delivery drivers are not coming to work.
Wow.
How do I make those deliveries to the customers that are expecting it? Right. Some of my employees might have family that are worried about this. So how do we adjust to ensure that business runs? At the same time, how do we adjust to follow up with them and make sure they don't need anything from me specifically or from our team, right? We got to go through that. Another thing is technology, right? AI is kind of taking over almost every facet of our business. How do I and my associates jump on it and take advantage of everything that it offers to be able to move the business forward and take care of the customer? Because the other thing you mentioned was competition.
Hmm.
Competition is getting better at every turn, right? Here in North Dallas, HEB is a player now, right? And it used to be where Walmart was the best, and the competition was several tiers below. Our competition is very good now. From Aldi to Kroger to HEB. So we really can't really rest on being the low price leader, because sometimes you look and we're not the low price leader. So Walmart really wants to make it a point that we're out there every week, checking the competition on key items and making sure that no matter what, that we beat it. Right. So we're out there doing that. And when a new store opens in your area, the excitement that that the consumer has for a new competitor, how do we kind of curb that enthusiasm and show them like, hey, we're already here. We've been here for you. We can compete. So a lot of different things. They try to take your employees as well. Employees are anxious to do something new sometimes. So how do you retain them? How do you continue to have that trust to keep them with you, right? And that's on me. There's no playbook that keeps me from, hey, this is a way you keep employees from going to a new employer or anywhere else. So just kind of navigating through those things day in and day out is the top of mind all the time.
So when you're faced with especially like competition moving in, HEB is a great example. I grew up with HEB originally from San Antonio, and so that's where we shopped. And but it was like to your point, right? Way back in the day, Walmart had its space, HEB had its space, and then the superstore comes along, and HEB all of a sudden starts selling everything else as well. So here we are today, and like you said, HEB is making its way into Dallas and North Dallas, and sometimes even further north of that now. So when you're thinking through competition, what is it that crosses your mind? What kind of decisions are you having to make? Because I would imagine that a lot of like the price promotions and things like that are probably corporate driven. So what levers are you able to pull, in order to I guess, react or even hedge against the competition?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we focus on is internally, right? Internal factors. Number one is our people. How do
Mhm.
we ensure that every single one of our 350 people, the 10 salaried members of management and myself, are doing everything we can to self improve? How do we make our areas better? How do we make our store cleaner? How do we make it more efficient and easier for the customer to shop? Right. That's number one. I can go and lower prices all I want, but if we're not taking care of the customer correctly, it's not going to matter, right? People are willing to pay for convenience, and if we can't offer that right out of the chute, then we've already lost. So we look internally, how can we do better? We look ourselves in the mirror, right? We have a culture of conversation always, feedback. It's for as long as I can remember, open, honest conversations has always been a way of life at Walmart, right? So I'm having good conversations and I'm giving feedback conversations, and they're had with me as well from my boss, right? On how do we make it better for the customer. So we start there. Number two, as big as Walmart is, they can't look at every single competitor's price
Right.
in every different market, right? So it really is on us. And I use my phone, I use my iPad, HEB.com, Kroger.com, TomTom.com, kind of see where they're beating us, or
Okay.
maybe even if they've been getting close, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I come in weekly, every week. I'm in those stores. I look and see what they look like from a cleanliness standpoint. I look to see where they are from a price standpoint and just from an efficiency standpoint. What can I take away to bring back to my store? And what do I feel good about that we're doing that they're not? But those are the levers that I pull on a weekly basis to make sure that my customer base here in my town, they know we're the low price leader and we're clean and we're efficient and all those things. So we got
Yeah.
to take care of our associates. And number two, we got to make sure that we can beat them at their game and just be better at what they do.
No, that's really good. So when you're evaluating the landscape, obviously, you know what you know, and you might know what you don't know. So how do you personally make decisions when the data isn't cut and dry?
That's when I lean back to my experience. There are times when I'll walk into my store, and just upon two steps in, I already feel that my store is not up to standard.
Wow.
As soon as you walk in, the feel for it, in most stores, when you walk in, the first thing that hits you is our produce department. And it needs to pop with color, it needs to pop with price, and it needs to feel abundant.
Hmm.
Peppers, tomatoes, onions. It needs to feel like we're never going to run out. Sometimes in the parking lot at 7 a.m., I shouldn't have any straggling carts. I shouldn't have a trash that's even halfway filled. And when I see it, I already know if we couldn't take care of this, what issues are awaiting me as I take a
You
further
think you
step.
think some 16-year-olds looking for your car out in the parking lot,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I want to make sure we have that standard, right?
Yeah, no, I think
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, and
That's a
and
super high level of ownership that you're instilling. That's really good.
yeah, and it's important, right? Because I think when I was 16, I really only got a job because my parents couldn't afford to buy me Jordans. And that's what I wanted, right? And as soon as I got my first pair of Jordans, I was ready to quit. I was like, I got my Jordans, and my dad was like, "You could buy yourself more Jordans. You keep working, right?" And so I try to talk and I try to relate with every single associate. I have
Yeah.
16-year-old associates. I have 85-year-old associates. How do I relate with them? How do I give them a sense of ownership? Because their evaluation is based on performance as well, right? And we have a tool where we can rate everyday actions,
Oh
how they
wow.
take care of the customer, how they go above and beyond. So I want to make sure that they know that we appreciate what they do, but how can they put more in their pocket by taking care of our customer and store
Yeah. Oh,
every
that's
day.
awesome. But I cut you off. But you were talking about making a decision, like when you walk in the store, you don't have all the data, but you just there's something about either experience or your own values or the patterns that you notice, like you said, the shopping carts out in the parking lot, the trash is full, like you're picking up on those kinds of things, and so that leads you to believe, hey, something's off probably inside the store. So
Yeah.
how do you go about, like, what's your discovery process, and when do you feel, I guess the back half of that question is, when do you feel like, okay, I have enough data, now I can start getting people on top of it?
Yeah, so we're trained to walk the store through the eyes of a customer, right? The most important areas in the store are obviously food, anything you consume, health and beauty. Um, 95% of our shoppers are going to go there for medicine, for shampoo, for toothpaste, or food, right? If we're lucky, they'll buy a TV, they'll buy a TV stand, maybe some furniture, a shirt, right? Where our margin is. But that's what draws a customer in. So those are the areas I key. Yeah, you're right. Those are the main areas I walk. And I walk up and down every single counter, up and down, front to back. It takes me the whole hour to get through the store and my back room, right? And just anything that's out of stock, in abundance of out of stocks. That just makes my I don't know if you watch Stranger Things when the things come up in the back of his
Yeah.
neck. That's how I feel when I see just empty shelves, and I just got to figure out what the problem is, right? So that's one indicator. And then when I look at my reporting of anything that we might have not fulfilled an online order for that particular department, I'll look at yesterday's score, and a lot of times the empty counter tells me already what score I'm going to see for the day before. And I just got to treat everything as if it's the most important thing, right? I got to treat it with a sense of urgency because of the amount of people that work in our store. I can get a group together, 15, 20 people, and my worst looking area will be the best looking area in a matter of 30 minutes. Um, so that's kind of how I gauge it as I walk around the store. If I'm a customer and I'm looking for pillows and my pillow counter is wiped out, this is not a good sign. And nowadays, people take pictures and they post it on Facebook and on Instagram. Oh man, have you seen how dirty this is? And
Yeah.
I would just die if I saw my store attached to it, right? So, uh, and my coaches, also my salary members of management, as they're
Yeah.
called coaches,
Yeah.
they have the same feeling, right? They have a lot of ownership and a lot of pride in their areas. So as we walk around the store, I'll walk around as a group with whoever is there with me at the time, and we just kind of point things out. And it used to be me saying, "Fix that now. Get the people over there and fix it now." But now a lot of my coaches, before I even call it out, they're on the radio, walkie-talkie, calling people over to aisle 26, to the
Oh, wow.
eggs, to produce.
Yeah.
And it's a total team effort. And so that's kind of how we see, how we feel, get the feel for the store, what kind of day we're going to have, because those will reflect on the metrics
That's
for
really
that day.
interesting. So, like, kind of determining, you're almost like in real time determining the cost of inaction. As you walk around and you see shelves that are empty, that's potential lost sales, but more than that, it's potential, like, bad reputation, right? Somebody comes by and instead of pillows they find a Slurpee on the shelf or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So when you're kind of walking through, when you're going through those moments, um, when you're deciding things on the fly, but you also have the bigger picture framed in your head about what the day is going to be like, maybe where you are numbers wise for the day or for the week, maybe a site visit from executives coming up, right? You're weighing all of these different things. So how do you balance being cautious and wanting to make the right decisions without becoming paralyzed? How do you avoid analysis paralysis?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's something that we're faced with every day, right? Because a good executive at our store and with Walmart can tell the difference between a bad store or just a bad day, right? You can tell the difference, right? So a bad store, you can see it from just driving around the building. The second you walk in, I know I can for sure. I can tell right away. When I shop at another store, I'm like, oh, it's not. This is not a process driven store, right? Engagement slow. I can tell. For me, um, when I walk around my store, sometimes I just feel like someone made a bad decision. Someone was overwhelmed, or I question myself, did I make a bad plan for yesterday? But our store is Walmart is very process driven. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a process from start to finish on a normal day, right? And there's several many different processes that we got to keep up on, but everybody's got to play the role in it. Now, if I'm having a bad day, like I said, empty pillow counter or parking lot not very clean, um, you have to really stop and react right away. But I'm a very aggressive store manager. I do take a lot of chances, whether it's building displays, whether it's taking a risk on an item that doesn't sell very well, try to see if we can get some traction on it. But Walmart's really big on our back rooms being as empty as possible,
Okay.
right? They want inventory leveraged, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I do break on process to be able to get people working on maybe some of the extra we have in the back room. How much can we push out? But sometimes if the wrong person walks in, as I'm doing that, they might stop and say, what's the problem here? Why are we doing this? Right. You just got to be confident in your decision making, and not just shoot from the hip. You got to be able to explain why you're doing something. And a lot of times, I think 9 out of 10, they'll understand why we're doing something. So that's the important part: is know your business, know your people. Be really honest with yourself as to how you're performing, because if I'm not performing well, if my metrics are not well, my sales are not good, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to work
Yeah.
on my processes to get them better. But if I'm performing at a pretty high level or at standard at least, I'm willing to take those chances.
No, I really like, I really appreciate you sharing that, because that was one of my next questions. Really, is taking it along the lines of where it's like making an imperfect decision is better than waiting. If you see an opportunity to push something to the shelves, and because it maybe it reinforces the, hey, let's keep the back room empty, but it's not the best selling product, and maybe there's all these other things that go into that. Um, that's uh, that that's a really good example of, like, I've got to make a decision. I can't let it sit here. Sitting here, I mean, that is a decision, right? But it's an ineffective one.
Right.
That's really interesting. You also talked about, I heard you talk about being honest, and so tell me a little bit more about how you are able to be honest, like in those situations, without causing any kind of anxiety with the team. There, you said shoot from the hip. Some people don't operate well in that. So how do you help balance that?
Well, you got to take all the data that's in front of you, right? There's data that's important to the company. There's data that's important to my boss directly, and there's data that's important to me, right? I try to mirror what's important to my boss to be important to me. But sometimes there's some things that are very, very truly important to me that maybe he hasn't mentioned, right? And those that's kind of where my true north comes into play, and I talk about it every single day with my team. And I want them to believe what I believe in, right? I have one direction as a team. So those kind of decisions are hard. Like, how do I get what I want done, what the company wants done, and what my boss wants done all at the same time? And a lot of times those are the same beliefs that we got to focus on, right? A lot of times we have the same goals, but maybe not at the same time,
Hmm.
right? It's just if it's a metric driven, we're metric driven as a company, right? And I probably have 50 metrics that I got to follow up on every single day, from customer goals to backroom goals to just everyday things. Um, I can't be a failure on any of them and make excuses, right? Well, I'm lagging in this metric because this, I'm the store manager. Everything that happens in that store is because of me, right? So when I say honest with myself, it's why is that metric bad? Why isn't it as good as some of the other stores? And why isn't it up to the company's standard? And I got to be honest with myself and with the team. If it's me making decisions that's dragging it down,
Hmm.
well, then I got to check myself and make sure I can get back to basics and push my team to the finish line.
Yeah.
If it's a team member that has all the tools needed but is failing to do so, well, then that's a conversation I have to have with feedback. Start, what can I do to help? What can't you get there? And then if it still continues, well, then it takes a different approach, harder approach of coaching and write ups and all
Yeah.
those things. So just being honest with myself and honest with everybody involved.
No, I think that's really good. What what mistakes do you think leaders make? And maybe you've seen this in your own store, but what mistakes do leaders make when they try to just appear confident, as opposed to, you're navigating the complexity of not having the data. So what do you see when they try to appear confident?
I just ask questions. Tell me about this process. Tell me about this score. What's on your agenda today?
Mhm.
What are your goals for the end of the week? And just kind of hearing them talk some more. Sometimes they'll say the right things, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not. Why aren't these words matching what I'm looking at? Right? So I'll take them, walk them through it, and kind of keep asking those questions.
Yeah,
Asking open-ended questions are the
yeah,
best way to get all the information. But a lot of times when you speak to the people under that manager, that's when all the truth comes.
uh,
They can say, "Well, I've been asked to do this," or "I was flat out told that's not important to focus on these other things," or they tell me, "Hey, my schedule has been cut. I've only getting 20 hours. I haven't been able to get to that." So you kind of uncover, you peel back the layers of the onion, and you really figure out what the problem is. But sometimes it takes quite a bit of digging to find out what's going on.
yeah, yeah. I love that. That's one of my favorite just ways of teaching and learning as well, is just asking those open-ended questions. It really kind of drives the person to have to think about the answer, and you do, like you said, you uncover a lot of what's actually going on.
Right.
So what about some practical wisdom for students? Because ultimately, this is geared towards students in a business management class. So, what's one lesson that you learned about leading through uncertainty?
You know what? Really, the biggest lesson I learned from those experiences, it's putting people first. I mean, I can't think of a time where I've led with empathy or leading with empathy has backfired. Right? I was taught from a great leader a long time ago that unless it's life or death, the answer should be yes. Right? There's nothing that can happen by telling an associate no that's going to save the world. Right? If you're already in trouble, you're in trouble. Right? If you're already in the red, that's what it is. So. Really looking at what you would want in their shoes, what you would need in their shoes, right? Still keeping the company and the customer first, but there's a lot of things that I've done by leading with empathy, people first, that has paid me tenfold in the long run. Whether it's building trust, whether it's there's times when I need something. I know an
Yeah,
executive is coming in 2 days, right? Adam, I know you're off the next 2 days, but I can really use your help. They can tell me to go kick rocks all they want, but building that trust and knowing that I've been there for them has paid dividends for me. And they're like, yeah, we'll come in. You want us to come in at 4 in the morning, 5 a.m. What time do you need us? We'll be here. Right. So just, if I, if something happens to me today, Walmart will have a replacement for me by the end of the week. Right. And I understand that. But how do you make a family environment to where, because I see these people more than I see my girlfriend, I see people more than I see my daughter. How do I make it to where, hey, we truly are here for each other? What can I do for you so that I can get the things that I need done from you? Right? Let's talk and just creating that environment for yourself and for your team.
yeah. One of the things that has been kind of like spinning around in my head is, we hear a lot, customer first, business first, that kind of stuff. But I feel like, I don't really know how to like play all this out yet. But I feel like when we have that kind of mentality, that the employee is, I am part of that corporation. Your employee is part of the corporation. Your employee likely is a customer of the store as well. And so when how do you, I guess, how do you put those things together where you're talking to them as an employee, but they are also a customer and they are also a member of that organization. And then they are also, all the things that you think of with customers taking pictures, posting to social media, employees have all of those same capabilities. So it is, I think it does have to change the way that we as managers think about our employees. And it's not strictly like whatever makes the customer happy, because you're talking to a customer who is also an employee. I don't know. It's just like I said, I haven't fully worked that out yet, but it seems like there's some tension that maybe is not as discussed.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for me to know that when my associates go home and they're having dinner at the dinner table, what are they saying about me? And what are they saying about my team and my store, right? Are they telling mom, dad, husband, wife, son, kid, man, he is so greedy. He doesn't understand, right? He walks around and just points and doesn't help, right? Or do they say, man, only 10 people showed up to the store today because of the ice storm. And Raul and his team were unloading a truck. They were cleaning the bathrooms and they were shoveling ice at the door, and we were all doing it together, right? Or man, I had to work, but my daughter had a soccer game. I spoke with my team and they let me have the day off. They let me come in early so I can go do that. uh, that's kind of
Yeah,
what's important to me,
yeah, I
right?
think that's exactly right. Like you're talking
Yeah.
about it's not to change the whole topic here, but right, that's all about building that right culture inside your company. That's awesome. What about any advice you'd give to a new manager who is facing kind of an ambiguous situation? How should they approach decision making?
Asking questions, right? I deal with a lot of brand new managers. I've had some right out of college, never worked for Walmart before, that don't know the culture, right? They might think that I'm at Walmart now. I'm the manager. I got my nice slacks on. I got my nice polo shirt on. Um, I'm going to give direction and leave. Um, they've got to ask questions and get clarity from your manager or your superior on what the expectations are, right? And at any point when you're in trouble or you feel like you're lost, I understand the need to not look like you don't know what you're doing, like you don't belong. But at the end of the day, if a manager doesn't ask me for insight or advice and it's not executed the way it's supposed to be, I'm going to ask those questions like, why aren't you asking me questions? Why aren't you asking for help? Our success depends on each other. I'm here to help, right? I'm not going to do it for you, but you're new in role. We're gonna go along this journey together, right? Like someone did to me 28 years ago, right? So if someone new is coming on, I would just ask them to ask questions, whether it's from a superior or even someone you're giving direction to, right? Those associates or wherever you are, if you're a new manager at Walmart, the associate that's baking the cake or building the bike, they're more of an expert in what they're doing than myself or the manager will ever will be. So asking those questions, as dumb as you might feel asking them,
Mhm.
are crucial to the success of a new manager for sure.
That's awesome. I couldn't agree more. Asking questions, and I think so many people are afraid to ask questions, especially new managers. They feel like they got there based on capability and skill set, and they should know how to do everything. But the reality is, like, you're in a new position. It's okay to ask questions, and I think we need to, like exactly like you said, rely on those experts, create the space for people to ask questions, and I think that's yeah, the best way to succeed. Um, anything else? Any last words of wisdom that you want to share?
I would just say that as a manager, it's real easy to take a lot of things personal,
Mm,
right? Whether if you're in a retail environment such as myself, customers come in, they have bad days at work. Maybe they got broken up with, maybe they had an argument with a significant other, and they come to work and something's wrong and they just want to take it out on somebody, right? You got to understand it's not personal. They don't know you, right? You just kind of lead them through that way. Same thing with employees, right? They don't have the same attitude every day. Things happen. So how are you going to be able to deal with that, right? When a customer gets loud or even belligerent with you, they have nothing to lose. Where we have our jobs to potentially lose, right? So you just treat everybody as a, hey, you're not mad at me, you're mad at something that's happening. How can I help, right? How can I make your day easier, and get you out of the store as a happy customer? So, um, in a business environment where you're coming in contact with thousands of people on a daily basis, nothing's personal. And if you act as such, you'd be fine.